Welcome to Chasing Truth. This is part 3 in a series in which I address Pastor Andy Stanley and his comments about the Ten Commandments no longer being in effect. And so in his article that he wrote, and it was written for relevantmagazine.com, entitled, "Why Do Christians Want to Post the Ten Commandments and Not the Sermon on the Mount?" In it, he makes some bold statements. One is, quote, "Participants in the new covenant, that's Christians, are not required to obey any of the commandments found in the first part of their Bibles," unquote. He goes on to state that that would include the Ten Commandments. Now, that has garnered a lot of attention, and there's many scholars and pastors that are actually weighing in on this and basically taking him to task. What we want to do in this show is we want to demonstrate that Jesus not only did not do away with the law, he actually reinforced it. He didn't remove the Ten Commandments. He actually fully established them. He actually reinforced them. So let's go ahead and begin. Let's jump into this. Jesus himself reinforced the law rather than weakened it, let alone displaced it. Matthew 5:21 through 22. And I encourage you to get my previous shows on this to help you fill in the blanks. I'm jumping into the third part of this series. Matthew 5:21 through 22. Jesus says, "You have heard that the ancients were told, 'You shall not commit murder.'" That's one of the Ten Commandments. "You shall not commit murder, and whoever commits murder shall be liable to the court. But I say to you that everyone who is angry with his brother shall be guilty before the court and be in danger of hell itself." Now, did he weaken the commandment? Did he remove the commandment? Or did he strengthen the commandment? He said, actually, if you even hate your brother, or if you were angry with your brother, you're actually going to be guilty. Guilty of what? Think about this. Unresolved anger is the seedbed of murder. Remember Cain and Abel, the first murder that's recorded in the Bible? Yeah, Cain was angry at Abel. There was a number of issues between him and his brother that culminated in this anger that Cain just refused to resolve. And that led him to a place of murdering his brother. Jesus picks this up. He says, if your anger towards your brother is unresolved, then you're in danger of the court, of being guilty before the court, because that unresolved anger is in fact the very spirit of murder. So Jesus heightens the law. Jesus strengthens the law. He doesn't weaken it. He doesn't do away with it. He heightens it. Let's look at another one. Matthew 5:27 through 28. Jesus speaking here says this, "You've heard it said, 'You shall not commit adultery.' But I say to you that everyone who looks at a woman with lust for her has already committed adultery with her in his heart." Think about this again. Is he weakening the law or strengthening the law? He says if you're married but lusting in your heart for another person than your spouse, this is the seedbed of adultery. You need to nix that in your heart. You need to stop that in its tracks and therefore safeguard yourself in relationship to committing adultery in your life. Again, Jesus strengthens the commandment. He doesn't do away with it, Pastor Andy. He strengthens it. Matthew 5:31 through 32. It was also said, "Whoever divorces his wife, let him give her a certificate of divorce. But I say to you that everyone who divorces his wife, except on the ground of sexual immorality, makes her commit adultery, and whoever marries a divorced woman commits adultery." Again, Pastor Andy Stanley. Is Jesus doing away with the commandment, "Thou shalt not commit adultery"? That's one of the big 10. Or is he weakening it? Or is he strengthening it? It's apparent to everyone. He is strengthening the commandment, reinforcing and strengthening the commandment. It's plain for everyone to see. So Pastor Andy Stanley's bold statement, participants in the new covenant, that's Christians, are not required to obey any of the commandments found in the first part of their Bibles? Well, that flies in the face of Jesus' clear teachings on the commandments as found in Matthew chapter 5. People, listen to me. Pastor Andy Stanley's statement that I just quoted, that statement is heretical. It is. That's the facts. Once again, I condemn this statement, and I pray that this pastor will repent and retract it as soon as possible. Now, to all those who keep the commandments of God and their faith in Jesus, come and follow us. Leave the spaces of lawlessness and join believers who love the law of God. We shall overcome the enemy. We shall rule and reign with King Jesus forever. Well, that's it. Thanks for chasing truth with me on this controversial matter. Please subscribe to this channel, comment below, and check out all of our social media at graftedin.com.